Alright, this video was not easy to make. I've gone back and forth multiple times now on whether or not I should even do it, what kind of repercussions I might see as a result, and how to mitigate potential harm, but I've come to the conclusion that ignoring something like this just because I'm scared of making mistakes isn't really going to help anyone. Similar to my recent coverage of TikTok investigating a rabbit hole of underage exploitation in the live streaming category in particular, I needed to develop a methodology in order to cover the topic responsibly. That methodology is as follows. 1. I will not mention specific product names or websites. The material I'm about to discuss pertains to extremely sensitive topics, but I will be ensuring that this video itself is neither graphic nor descriptive. My aim is to educate and inform, not to disturb. 2. I will be blurring all mention of these products or websites when they appear in the background footage, and quite a bit of other content in my reference material as well, because I am completely unwilling to take a chance that someone might fall prey to this issue as a result of discovering these things through my coverage. This may seem counterproductive, especially given point number 1 and my effort to inform with the content, but I simply cannot justify that risk no matter how I approach the topic. 3. I will not be showing any specifics of the current lawsuit against Amazon, specifically aimed at this particular problem, because that lawsuit is one of the most difficult and personal things that I have read in my entire life. I am motivated to raise awareness of the issue, but amplifying something this sensitive requires extremely careful handling, which is precisely what I will try my best to do. Lastly, 4. I will not be naming the personal identities that I believe have been uncovered behind social media usernames in my research. This should be fairly self-explanatory, and I will be following up on this video by attempting to determine proper law enforcement agencies to contact, though I am sure they're already aware in some capacity or another. But by the end of the video, I believe that there will be at least some calls for me to release more information on the people involved that I have investigated. I cannot do that. It falls well outside the bounds of ethical conduct, and if I'm going to cover topics like these, I have to be conscious of that. In essence, the video will be highly controlled. This will not be a standard approach where everything is right there, fully visible on the screen, because this is not a standard topic. I refuse to run the risk of glorifying this subject. I refuse to be the conduit whereby more people fall into a predatory online community. And though it may undercut the impact of what I'm about to say, I am forced to consider how YouTube itself regulates content on the subject and abide by those rules as well. With all that said, let's get started. All of this begins with a lawsuit by C.A. Goldberg, a victims' rights firm, initiated in February of 2022. The lawsuit has had various different stages, but most recently it has been amended and publicly discussed on social media by one of the firm's lawyers. This is how I personally ran into it. The lawsuit pertains to Amazon's handling of a specific chemical. I'll refer to it as Chemical X, and alleges that the company often bundles Chemical X into a grouping with other products which are used as suicide kits. From here, I'll simply refer to them as kits. These kits allegedly contained a few different things. 1, obviously Chemical X. 2, a book describing dosage and techniques for using Chemical X, a manual of sorts, specifically to end one's own life. 3, a scale for measuring quantity, and most alarmingly, 4, a stomach acid and ulcer treatment medication meant to keep users from vomiting after ingesting Chemical X. As anyone can tell, this is already an extremely sensitive set of allegations, even if the most likely explanation is that Amazon's machine learning framework had simply identified these products as being linked through buying patterns and connected them in automatic pairings. However, this is just the beginning of what rapidly becomes one of the darkest areas of the internet that I have personally ever seen. This is the part where we need some vague but necessary context. Chemical X is an oxidizer, and as a result of that, it is classified by Amazon itself as a limited quantity dangerous good, or hazardous material. Now, the United States, as a sovereign government, does not have any strict regulation on this particular substance, but elsewhere in the world, it is actually denied for sale to private individuals. In a high concentration, Chemical X does not have any recreational use cases. I'm referring to the peak refinement percentage here. There are multiple use cases for a lower grade version. And even at an industrial scale, the use cases for Chemical X at or near 100% purity are almost non-existent. Regardless, Amazon sells cheap bottles of the substance to anyone with access to an Amazon retail account. Anyone at all. And according to this lawsuit, should they browse for the substance in the first place, it would not only recommend or bundle in medication to help ingest it, but also a dosage and methodology book on how to lethally do so. This is an alarming prospect, even if it might be explained away by the simple fact that Amazon's recommendation algorithm was simply responding to customer activity. But it gets worse. According to the American Association of Poison Control Centers, there has been a 253% rise in chemical X ingestion since 2018, that is, intentional ingestion, directly as a result of prominence through online vendors, aka platforms like Amazon, and discussion within online communities. What's more, as per Amazon's own regulations for hazardous material sellers, quote, sellers must submit product titles, bullets, and product descriptions that are clearly written and assist the customer in understanding the product, end quote. On top of this, for product images, quote, images should be clear, informative, and attractive. The first image on the product detail page is the main image and is shown to customers in search. The main image must show only the product for sale on a white background, and the product should fill the image frame. Additional images should show the product in use or in an environment, different angles, and different features, end quote. This is fairly descriptive and also contained within the lawsuit itself, which leads us to a logical check on how Chemical X has been listed on Amazon. The specific product named in the lawsuit from that particular seller is no longer available and is nearly impossible to find through product search alone. You have to actually find a direct link from some other source or use the Wayback Machine to get to it. It was more prominent before, but it seems like they've made some adjustments to the algorithm since then. But this product was being sold for an extended period of time. You can clearly see, even with an entirely censored page in my footage right now, that the picture does not conform to Amazon's hazmat guidelines. There's only one picture, it is not in frame, and the safety information, what little has not been cropped out on the bottle, on the label itself, is actually blurred in the seller's own photograph. In fact, this particular seller is offering dozens of industrial-grade chemicals and substances, some of them exceedingly dangerous, nearly all of them failing to meet Amazon's own regulation criteria, and it's apparently been this way for many years. On top of this, the review pages have seemingly been manipulated. According to the lawsuit, Amazon allegedly removes any one-star review that references self-harm, even though for this particular product offering, by this particular seller, it was allegedly used in multiple such cases, with very, very tragic results, as determined by law enforcement, TalkScreen, and personal communication. To expand on this point, there is further evidence of manipulation beyond what the lawsuit already alleges. This right here is basically the same product, just different sellers. This one has 20 customer reviews, with nearly 20% of them, 19 to be exact, coming in, as per Amazon's own indicator, at 1 star. However, when you click those reviews, there are none. 20% of 20 reviews would be 4 one-star reviews that were left on this highly dangerous product, but none of them exist publicly anymore. This is disconcerting, to say the very least, but once again, there's more to the story. After the tragic events that initially led to the lawsuit being filed, internet activity was uncovered on the victim's phone, leading to a website. I'll refer to it simply as Website X. Website X is a community of over 26,000 people, 91,000 threads, 1.6 million messages, almost exclusively pertaining to the glorification of and assisted self-harm to a point of no return. The lawsuit discloses that a user, Mark the Ghost, was communicating with the victim and in no uncertain terms here, teaching them, answering questions as well, how to go about this, how to use Chemical X, what to expect, where to get it, and what to do. Mark the Ghost, up until very recently, was a prominent user of Website X. He is thanked in numerous different threads on the platform for being one of the people that new users connected with the most, while in other threads, he is referenced as someone who attempted to lure a woman from the website to his home and talked about violent acts against women. He has since been banned from the platform, but Website X is not careful with their activity. Users are out in the open, teaching and advocating for the worst possible outcome to depression, and users like Mark the Ghost were browsing the topics, teaching people what to do and where to get things, while specifically linking to Amazon and Chemical X. It is not difficult to comb through these threads and discover critical details on who these people are. Some of these users are habitually pushing others to a point that they can never come back from, showing them how, what, and where, but they themselves return week after week to do it again. They're not one of the vulnerable people going here. They're one of the people facilitating the vulnerable people to make choices they can never, ever undo. A little bit of social engineering, a little bit of digging, and you can start to find them, who they really are. But this is where I faced a moral dilemma. My first instinct was to rally whatever viewer might listen and crusade against this website. Have it taken down regardless of how it happened. Hackers, denial of service attacks, activism, you name it. My gut reaction was that declaring war and attempting to wipe this website from the face of the internet was justified. However, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is precisely how we arrive at a broken dystopian world of censorship and cancellation. I believe it to be the morally justified thing to do here in this particular circumstance, but I also believe that emotional campaigns to destroy things that we don't support is a slippery slope to oblivion. Ultimately, I decided that I will neither mention by name nor attempt to destroy this website. I will simply say that we should all be aware that when someone is struggling, outreach is the best remedy, not teaching them how to act on their worst impulses. Amazon itself sells highly concentrated chemicals with different buyer safety measures based on geographic location. In the United States, anyone with an account can buy Chemical X from retailers who blatantly ignore Amazon's own safety protocols. In certain European countries, however, they would be denied access, but there is a very clear set of priorities here. The combination of increased availability due to online retailers and online communities using those retailers to promote and obtain these materials has led to a staggering rise in suicide as a result of these kits that are being formed by the Amazon algorithm and suggested into a user's feed through a self-fulfilling feedback loop. More people sent by communities like Website X buy those products in combination. More buyers means more suggestions, means algorithmic recommendations increase, means availability rises even higher, and soon, as alleged in this lawsuit, you arrive at a bundled kit of substances and tools that a machine learning algorithm has put together to service the darkest depression of vulnerable individuals, all for profit. In a twisted sense of capitalistic opportunity here, the emergency treatment for overdoses on Chemical X by ingestion has been advertised right on the product page of Chemical X itself. No correlation text, no connection made on what to do with it, why or how, just the emergency treatment itself as an advertisement, right next to the lethal chemical, bundled together with a how-to guide and medication to make it more possible. The twisted dystopian world of algorithms and machine learning could not possibly be better showcased all at once in a single morbidly tragic scenario. In a time of crisis, limiting swift access to harmful methods of carrying out self-destructive thoughts can absolutely save lives. What we have seen here, alleged by this lawsuit and seemingly corroborated by my own research as well, is the exact opposite of that. What we have seen is a feedback loop of increasing access, increasing promotion, and increasing availability, all of it driven by a black box algorithm with what I would claim is clearly insufficient oversight. Confronted by the reality of this terrible trend, other online vendors such as eBay and Etsy have globally banned the sale of Chemical X, especially to non-industrial parties. But when faced with the very same tragic events, Amazon chose to cite an obscure Texas legal code that allows them to continue selling substances even when they are used in such a way. Now, to be clear here, I don't know if I land on the side that all global sales of a chemical should be prohibited because it simply can be used in a negative way, but at the very least it should be policed and regulated at the levels of concentration to which Chemical X appears on sites like Amazon, which is about as concentrated as it possibly can be, with consistent, rigid, and safety-intensive measures that, again, are consistent across the board for all sellers. It's not the first time that Amazon has actually been sued for similar reasons, by the way. In 2015, the website was targeted by a grieving mother for selling cyanide on the platform out of Thailand. This case ended in a closed settlement, meaning we have no conclusions to definitively draw, but the totality of events here is what should be most concerning. Not only was Chemical X sold, it was promoted alongside manuals and medication to make our worst impulses that much more attainable and much more effective. A dramatic rise in this problem has been exacerbated, during recent years especially, by the joint problem of community glorification and usage alongside ease of access and availability. What the solution might eventually be, I don't have a clue, but I would hope that the takeaway from this would be closer scrutiny of purchasing habits for any parent or loved one who watches this channel. Be aware of what is bought with your account. If industrial-grade chemicals appear that you did not order, immediately cancel them and check in on loved ones around you. I'll be providing a crisis helpline below the video, a link, as well as a couple more resources for how to seek help. But again, the biggest thing that we can do is be aware of the dark ways in which technology, and algorithms in this case, can affect our lives, even on innocuous websites or shopping platforms like Amazon, and we have no idea. Where this lawsuit will eventually go, I honestly can't say for sure. And I do legitimately know that someone determined could most likely find the websites and products that I have discussed today based on the information I have provided. But someone who is determined enough to dig that deep is going to find what they are looking for, regardless of what I say, do, censor, or report on. The primary goal here is to raise awareness, and hopefully the video has succeeded in that effort. Instead of my normal outro, though, with channel links and ways to support, Today, I will simply remind everyone that there is a crisis hotline and various other links to support outlets in the video description. That's all that's there. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.